Thank you, Karabo. Usually when Guy and I sit with an advisor and we chat to him, he would say, after we had the discussion, you know, when I call you, when Guy calls you, it is to say happy birthday or well done. When Dirk calls you, he's there to cuck you out. So, unfortunately, it's part of my job. So, I don't know if anybody wants a prize. I don't have anything to give. But what happens on the 31st of May? Oh, yes. Can we go hallelujah? Who's got 18 and a half or 18 points? Who does not? No, put up your hands. Who does not? Yo. Guys, you in cuck. Because the day afterwards, my dear friend John Armstrong, John believes in black and white, gray in his life. Nothing. Guy is going to tell John, remove that person from the license and debar him. I don't want to debar you. I want you to stay a financial advisor with Fairbairn Consult. So if needed, and Karabo can come and help me up again, I'll go on my knees and beg you, you have a few days left. Get your CBD points. And where's Andrea? She's also going to tell you, you're in trouble. Please, I beg you, get your CBD points ready and make sure that they're all locked and we can evidence that you've got your 18 points. Next thing, and Jolene spoke about it extensively and she explained why. And we utilize, and everybody can shout together, we can sing like Karabo did, we use X-Plan. Guys, and what we do with X-Plan, we load data on it, and we hopefully load good data on there. And Jolene hammered away on that as well. We knew we need good data. We did a lot of research. We dug into your X-Plan a lot. You know we're allowed to do that, Guy and myself and John. Unfortunately, some of the data are corrupt. It's not good. And as Jolene also said at numerous stages, we need good data. And Guy referred to that client-based commission statement. So what we do is we take CopPay, and you guys merge it with X-Plan. Oh, and then we show data. So please, I beg you, whenever you load a client, whenever you work on X-Plan, give us good data. We need a Mr. or Mrs. or somebody. Otherwise, beeswax, that is an amazing system, is not going to work. We need good data. You need to put the client in correctly. Don't flip-flop around the surname and the first names and that kind of stuff. Please, I beg you, do it correctly so that we can help you to build a better business so that you understand your business and you can take that business forward and make profit from it. So please, that's my soapbox minute, or 5 minutes or 2 minutes of cucking you out. So now, done with that. Please do that. Now I want to call up a few of your colleagues, and I'm going to, Derek, Satow, join me on stage. Greig Williams, join me. Nassief, Mohamed, join me. Dina, where are you? Come, girl. And Mr. Vadee. And then my esteemed black wife. Yeah. Comes here. Comes to I. Mag ek sê I is?
I is, ja. Want you are wearing your jean pants.
No, but I want to know the English speaking. Can I say I is?
At your age, you can say what you want, my love.
You're so good. I is the 9th letter of the alphabet.
I is too.
Cool. Alrighty.
Go check for Dirk.
Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
So, here are your colleagues. And we posed or asked them to answer 1 or 2 questions for us. And I think a few of you will remember this man last year. And yeah, we had a good chuckle on the stage.
Aged.
You aged well. So my question to Derek today is, a guy, last year he was 50 years, so it must be 51 now. Uh-huh. So if he can step back and go back in life, and you had somebody to give you a pearl of wisdom, a little bit of advice, a young advisor coming into the industry, what would you would like to tell that person?
Before answering the question that Dirk posed to me, what I want to do is to actually, tell you something about me and where I've come to with my life, and then that will set sort of the ground rules as to what I would like to tell you about as to what you can do if I roll back 44 years of my life. So I live in a different world to what I was brought up in. So if I have a look back, my father came back from the war. He wasted no time in family matters. My sister was born in 1948. I followed in 1949. And had he not died at an early age, I'm sure I'd have a hell of a lot more sisters and brothers than what I do. So that was good. But I think it would be remiss of me not to go back to memory lane, just to set the ground rules per se. So when we were growing up, your life was actually mapped out for you by your parents. It was virtually non-negotiable. So we all went to boarding school. If you were a boy, you went to boarding school when you were 7, because that's what my ancestors did. While you were at school, you played sport, but more importantly, you had to do cadets. And you had to become a student officer. And then you had to matriculate. And once you matriculated, you then went to army and you served your country. If you had anything left with you thereafter, you actually went to university. And then lastly, you would actually seek for employment, in my case, in a trust company. And my parents said, listen here, you go to that specific institution and you don't deviate away from it. You stay there until you retire. So climb up the corporate ladder, but you then retire from that. So it's a different sort of mindset as to what we're now experiencing. So looking back in my life, I can tick off all those objectives. I did them all very well, with the exception I never finished my law degree. But that's by and by. I've been with a couple of companies, but my major company was Cyclist Trust and Fairbairn Financial Planning, and those two organizations I spent 48 years with. So it's quite a long period of time. In my first half in Cyclist Trust, I learned a hell of a lot of stuff. But was I a specialist? No, I certainly wasn't a specialist in it. I became a specialist as I did financial planning, and that speciality I would think is no more than about 5 or 6 years old currently. So taking that into consideration, what would I tell myself as a 30-year-old? Going back 44 years, and as I mentioned to you about the dementia, you must appreciate the one I'm about to tell you may be sort of out of line, but we'll run through all of that with you. I think the important thing that I would like to do if I was a 30-year-old in this industry is I would bring a bit of fun back into my practice. Today it's all to do with targets. There's no more fun. And I can assure you when I was 30, in my old life, there was a lot of fun happening. Secondly, and I think very importantly, I would like to look at financial planning as a career choice for myself. Bearing in mind, we did all these other things, but it was never a plan. Thirdly, I wouldn't be a financial planner, I would be a paraplanner initially. And the reason being is that somebody else would pay me to do my education. I wouldn't have to worry about chasing sales, I wouldn't have any sales. I'd be a paraplanner. I'd go to university, I would get my CFP, and I got my CFP, unfortunately, when I was in the 50s, so it's a long time ago, but it certainly wasn't in the 30s. I would certainly want to become a far better communicator than what I've been to date, a better listener, and certainly to have a lot of more empathy to people. And I think most importantly of all is the relationship or the company that you're going to be partnering with. And I went through this exercise in 2020 before I joined Fairbairn Consult. I can speak with a bit of credibility on that side. And one thing I do like about Fairbairn Consult is that you've got a flat management structure. I mean, senior management are very proactive. There's no ring fencing of products. And I think if you have a look at all the institutions that we can in fact partner with, I mean, it's an amazing industry. I mean, if I look back, this is the only industry that I know that age counts in your favor and not against you. I mean, I'm 74 this year. I'm actually now like a 30-year-old, and hopefully that will give you some credence.
Very clear. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the honesty. Karabo,
All right.
over
Oh,
to you.
I am going to ask a question to Nassief.
Ooh,
That's why I'm standing right here.
next to you.
So Nassief, a whole coffee shop where you get advisors to meet with clients. Just tell me, how did you feel? I mean, I follow you on LinkedIn, but I want you to use the words that Suzanne did not sign off. No, I'm kidding. Just the experience, and what is the thinking, and what is the hope? I know it's just been a couple of weeks.
I think the achievement in itself, opening a walk-in center with more than 100 product providers and providing financial services access to the broader community has just been amazing. I think in the month that we've been in the center, it has been so awesomely received from the community. By the way, it's right next to Old Mutual Walk-in Center. So you can imagine how that went. But
That was fun.
But I think it all started with COVID. If I look at the challenges financial advisors experienced during COVID, we weren't able to see clients face to face. And when COVID eased up, clients were very reluctant to meet with advisors and allow them to come to their homes. And we were meeting clients in coffee shops. And it just got me thinking, how do you take financial services to the community or make it readily available for a client to come in and just sit and speak to you about things that they don't normally speak about? And the concept was born from, I would say, from COVID. If we look at the challenges, opportunity was created where you have a coffee shop and people can come in, have a conversation and do business. So they have access to every single product. And it's not only about selling a product to a client. I mean, clients can actually walk in there with their queries, get the issue resolved, and then start engaging. And I think it's more about building that relationships from that aspect. It's just been, I think, a very amazing journey for the past month. And it all started a year ago, putting the plans in place. I mean, picture, you guys can see the photo of it. Just imagine an environment where it's welcoming for a client. You actually have a bootlegger's kiosk inside, so a client can either purchase a coffee, or if they come to see an advisor, the coffee's on the house and they can engage with the advisor. So if you look at the challenges you face, getting leads or getting access to clients, this just makes it so much easier. Clients walking in and engaging with you. There's no looking for leads. You don't have to phone people. They actually come to your doorstep and engage with you. So, yeah.
That is super cool. Very nice. I think what I like is that you walk into one shop, you can access 100 products. Over 100
Yeah,
products. That's super
correct.
awesome. That's lekker.
All right. Greig, you and I started talking about 2 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah. Greig was a tied agent at Liberty. And yeah, it took a lot of convincing to join Fairbairn Consult.
Wasn't that
And
much.
finally he did. And yeah, there were some tough times going through and getting into the industry, back into sort of this fold of being an unbiased advisor with all the products. And I know you went through a bit of a hard time, but you revitalized yourself. And I think last week or beforehand, you wrote us an email that struck me and Guy very at our heart, at the core of what we do. So that journey you went through, just share a bit with your colleagues what you felt and where you got to.
Yeah, thanks. So first of all, on behalf of all of us,
Yeah.
this is a great event, and I think we're all enjoying it. So to you and your team, really thumbs up, high five, all the rest. And what I always find funny is, like, I never knew what the conference was about, but then I go and see what I'm going to tell you about what I've done in my business. All of that starts, we're all on the same page. And that's what happens when you start collaborating with like-minded people. I think you almost subconsciously start doing very, very similar things. So when I decided to join the broker space, I actually was going to go and open up my own brokerage, and I quickly found out that that wasn't a viable option. and going to join the equivalent of the Liberty broker space was also, I needed a complete and utter change, because what took me to that decision was I was able to go and look 5 years ahead and say to myself, well, what's the advisor in the future going to look like? And it was clear to me that non-bias was going to be the main theme. So the first reason I moved was because I wanted to have option of other solutions, because I realized that the advice doesn't change, but the solution becomes part of the advice. And that solution must be a non-biased solution. Now, a year later, after being here a year, and we spent the whole of last year getting our clients across and creating processes and getting a value proposition that talks to our clients, I looked another year from now. So or another 5 years from now, what does that financial advisor look like in 5 years from now? And a lot of the things that I came up with, we've already heard about today. So, if we like it or not, technology is coming. And I don't think the robot advice is the problem, but what you do have is you're going to have very smart people creating businesses that is just technology, that is going to compete for your customer. So that you got no control over that. It's here already. It's going to get even better. It's coming. It's here. The second thing you've got no control over is regulation. Regulations, it was put very nicely today, and I like it when regulation starts talking to the entrepreneur and being a business. But what we have to be scared about is regulation is going to take away a lot of the upfront commission. And that's just the fact. No one wants to say it out loud, but it's going to happen. So when I look 5 years from now, the theme for me, what I want to have is perpetual growth. And people have said it differently today, but I want my business to have this continuous growth. You cannot be looking at stagnant. You can't have in your mindset that you're going to get to $1 billion under assets and then we're going to take our foot off the pedal. It's got to be, you've got to have this perpetual, you've got to always be growing. And you've got to grow in a lot of other ways. You're going to have to learn to use technology. And then I've just heard what they're going to be talking about tomorrow is you've got to have to get smart with social media. So I'm implying that I'm putting that into my business now. I'm Generation X. So that technology I haven't really embraced. My kids will have to teach me how to use that technology. But if you want to be reputable, the first thing anybody does is Google you. And if they're talking about you and you're not coming up in their feeds, well then, if your phone's listening to, when they talk about washing machines, it comes up in their feed. So when they talk about you, it must come up in their feeds. You know, it's that kind of mentality. And what machines and all of this that you haven't got control over won't be able to do is have an eyeball to eyeball with a client. And the one thing that we all have to just get much, much better at is that emotional connection with the client. So we've got to pass the test of if something happens in our client's life, who's the first person they call? Well, that's their spouse, okay? So the second person is this person. I think we should be aiming for that we're in the top 5, you know, that we are one of the first people. And that is about getting that trust level back. Because all of us know that we're taught through the tight spaces how to get the trust levels right when you're doing a transaction. But it's gone from, the financial planning is going to go from a transactional to what we had over the last couple of years to financial well-being. And that discussion with the client is totally and utterly different. It's about knowing their whole budget. How many of us are really doing a budget with our client as the first point of call? Or, you know, using the word to talk to the client and then a budget. It's that whole financial well-being. When people say you're going to know what makes your client tick, it's just more than that. It's not about what makes them tick financially. It's about what makes them tick in their whole lives. What are their children's names? What are their grandchildren's names? When are those birthdays? When is that anniversary? And it's not about just phoning people on their birthdays. It's actually being part of their lives and understanding their lives. So I think if the financial planner of the future can just increase that emotional attachment to their client, then you've got nothing to worry about. And then it's like what I say to my kids, when they complain to me, I just say one sentence to them, said, you are living in the best time anybody has ever lived. And that's true. The health, everybody's health is better. Generally, the world is actually healthier. And I know there's a lot of bad news out there and everybody thinks it's the worst time. But if you were born in the 90s to now, it's a lot of different time. You're living in the best time. And what I'll end with is, I think, as a financial advisor, you're living in the best time. It's the best time to be a financial advisor because there's problems, and when there's problems, there needs to be solutions, and we're the only ones that can offer those solutions.
Thanks, Greg.
Yes,
Really
that deserves
appreciate
a
it.
round of applause.
Awesome.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're living in the best times.
I love
Wow.
it. I love it.
Okay.
Love it. I think the big word that we're hearing is the connection.
Yeah,
Connecting with
emotional.
customers. Emotional. I think you said the same. Be where the communities are, right?
Cool.
How's Dina?
Dina.
So apparently you attended one of the 3 courses that Fairbairn Capital Consult.
Yeah, I'll
Did I
give
say
you that.
insult?
Your pay is going, we're going to get
Who said
nothing.
consult? You don't get a point. So this is in my script to check who's awake. And I was expecting everybody to say consult. So we're going to try it again. So Fairbairn Capital.
Consult.
Beautiful, great. So please let us know what is it that you learned, what was the course about, and what has it meant for you?
Thank you, Karabo. But I would like to know, I feel comfortable if I can stand.
You can of course. One, check. I'm a gentle lady. You're standing right there. You're supposed to help the lady. All right. Sharp Osdin.
Thank you very much, Karabo. To answer your question, my experience as a financial advisor, I've been very diligent in how I listen to my clients and their problems. I now know that gone are those days that I was selling policies to our clients to generate income. So now I'm in a program I'm doing with Emilio and HeartLink. I have learned something about the program, and now I apply the practices in the psychology of financial planning main issue, and as well as the data point that we use when we assess a client for the behavioral assessment. This gives my clients and myself insight into the behavior which influence their financial decision making. The biggest change that I've seen in me is making to help my clients look at their behavior and their understanding their emotions. That can prevent or allow them to build wealth and make different investment decision making. Again, important behavior in some of the assessment which my clients are working in include planning and monitoring, focus, social indifference, and frugality. This is improving the confidence of clients to how they make financial decisions and gives them stronger sense of inner control in the face of lots of external uncertainties in the economy. An example of how this change is working for me, I mean the psychology in financial planning. is with one of my clients. I once had no guts to approach this client. I had fear to approach this client. In other words, I was so fearful to approach. Because I have learned from the behavioral finance, I once approached using the coaching with Hardlink industrial psychologist, Dr. Shelleen Titus, is approached that the client and surprised that I am so different. After I have approached the client, the assessment I did using Astute, obtaining the whole information of a client, and then after all, I realized that this client is only having 160 rands retirement annuity with an income of 79,000.
Yes.
I then went through the assessment only to find that the frugality discussions entered in. The client told me that you are so different, and he and his team wants to work with me now. He said, I am not like other advisors who wants to come into his premises to sell policies, to tell them about debt consolidations. My confidence is now better in approaching new and existing clients with the new approach, providing unbiased financial advice that starts with assessing the client behaviors.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dina. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Christine.
Thank you,
Amazing.
Dina.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Wow.
Mr. Vadee.
Leaving the best for last, or just this is an age thing?
Age thing. That's all. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he's the youngest.
I'm the
That's
oldest.
why. Yeah. Mo, we've come a long time, and you actually, and Guy spoke about it, the changes. You saw a very unique and specific opportunity in a very unique market. Just share a little with your colleagues what you guys do and how you can assist and how this came about.
Sure. Can you hear me? Okay. So thanks. I think Guy, Dirk, Karabo, great to be here and great to address all of you. So thanks for the opportunity. I think firstly, let's just take a step back and think about South Africa. You know, it's a lot of doom and gloom in terms of the state of our economy. There's a lot of headwinds. I won't even mention the L word. It's got to do something with light. There's a lot of doom and gloom around. But if we really think about us as a nation, we really still celebrate us being a rainbow nation. And what it presents for us is there's a lot of factors in terms of respect and inclusiveness. And the fact that we're such an inclusive nation gives us opportunities. So all of you as entrepreneurs, I urge you to look at what niche you can actually service. Thinking about this rainbow nation, you've got age diversity, you've got gender diversity. In this case, we've got religious diversity. So we've carved out that from an Islamic perspective and looked at a market predominantly underserviced previously and looked how could we bring it more mainstream? How could we service the Sharia market in a way that is actually top of mind for the advisor to be able to service this market? Now, maybe a question that comes across everyone's mind, is this market lucrative or not? From a population perspective, I think we probably, those of Muslim faith under 5 million. But from a financial perspective, it's been quite lucrative. And if you think of it from a global scale, the latest stats in the Sharia market specifically is about $2 trillion. USD dollars. So it's a very big market and an underserviced one in a country like ours. So the proposition that we've brought to light in partnership with Fairbairn is about how do you take the Fairbairn proposition, top it up with elements that are very unique to that particular market segment, and be able to present it in a way that's very meaningful and something that can be understood. Finance in general, or let's say insurance in general, from an Islamic perspective, was always very misunderstood. And there are solutions out there. You know, that's the message I think we as advisors have to be carrying forward. And it's the point about inclusivity. There is a solution for everyone in the market that we service. It's how we find that market. So from a Sharia perspective, there are some brilliant solutions in the South African market, even abroad. So we've got global funds, which really attract some unique, Sharia funds. And the amazing thing, if you follow trends in terms of, the financial markets, there's a lot of buzzwords that have emerged that actually complement this market. For example, ESG. ESG is environmental social governance. You may hear it. It's a real buzzword of that. It just purely speaks about responsible business. And there's a natural overlap between Sharia business or Sharia propositions and products and ESG. So it's a very quick door opener in terms of finding common ground, because there's an emergence of a conscious customer out there. It doesn't mean I want to put my funds into something that just yields the greatest benefit. I actually want to put in my funds into something that's going to ensure that there's a planet for my children or grandchildren. So that automatically has a natural fit with Sharia principles. So it's not just contained to a religious aspect. It's about doing things in a particular ethos, in a particular ethical type of way that these products actually appeal. So it is an open market at that. It's not constrained to just Muslim faith. And however, those of Muslim faith really find it, for us in particular in Al-Himayah, they find it very enlightening to speak to someone who actually can speak the similar language. And that in itself, if you look at the principles shared by my colleagues here in terms of trust, relationship, lifestyle, etc., this just strengthens that. So you're able to, at ground levels, connect with the person and really offer them something that they can, appreciate. And I think our proposition is holding well in terms of being that inclusive proposition. And for the record, there is no Sharia distribution business in South Africa. Fairbairn will be the first Sharia distribution business in South Africa.
Yes,
Awesome.
deserves a round of applause.
Thank you, Mo.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone. So, yeah, that was just some insight from your own colleagues. And I think what we all heard, it's an open market out there. I mean, it's up to you guys to go look for the opportunities. Everybody here shared their view of what they did. And I think the world's your oyster. And as you said, the new dawn is upon us. It's the great time to live. And thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Thanks,
Round of
Karabo.
applause.